and welcome to another evening of frank conversation here on Hard Copy, coming to you from our studios in Abuja. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf. The elections in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi states have now been conducted, winners declared, and those who haven't won currently mulling their options. For many Nigerians, at least the elections are over and the hard work of governance must start. But there are those who have been unhappy about the processes so far and think you cannot demand much from a flawed process, even if you had no problem with the outcome. My guest tonight is a politician, but one who doesn't fit in the regular mold. She's a professor of linguistics and once ran to be president of Nigeria on the platform of the now deregistered COA party. Professor Sonaiya might not have gathered a lot of votes, but she suddenly made a statement about who a politician should and can be. Ma'am, you're welcome to Hard Copy.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm still looking at you, and I'm trying to reconcile the name of the word politician with you. And I don't know whether you decided to surprise yourself by venturing into politics.
I don't know whether I was trying to surprise myself. I definitely had the conviction that we could do better as a country in terms of how we managed our affairs. And apparently, I did not have this idea that politicians were, some kind of special people and so on. My understanding of a politician was just simply somebody entrusted with the resources collectively owned by a people, for the governance, for the good governance of the people. And I had always thought that politicians evolved from, just the normal walks of life. You were a teacher, you could become a politician. You were a lawyer, you could go into politics. It was all about just going to serve, your people, good governance. So I didn't have that problem at all.
I'm looking at you. You're very simply dressed. You're wearing a very simple dress. Your head gear is just simply tied, simple turban around your head. Now, when you normally see a politician, and this is even from the very first republic, where flamboyance was associated with our politicians and politics in general. You had politicians speaking in very flowery words, dressed in the most elaborate ways. Did you not think, okay, I might look a little too simple here? People might not exactly associate me with being a politician. Did you think about that?
That would have been a very good thing if it happened and more people like me, could come into into that space. What are we doing with all that flamboyance?
Yeah, but did it occur to you? Did you think about it?
I really didn't. What I thought about was more of the bad governance, especially with the big political parties. So why did I choose COA party when I could have gone with the bigger parties and so on? So there were things that were known about them, the influence of money in the politics, the influence of so-called godfathers whose word would be law, the night meetings and so on.
And where would you say your structure was? Was it just at the top where you're dealing with fellow elites, for instance, at the Obafemi Awolowo University where your fellow lecturers knew you? Yeah. Where would you say that, your biggest constituency
but they were not even going to vote for me anyway. How many votes did I get?
And they told you? Yeah. Did they tell you that?
Not directly, but they did through their votes. How many votes did I get from the campus? Maybe, I don't know, less than 10. Can you imagine? It's a place where I had worked. And I think what it showed was this whole conception that we have about politics and about what we expect in the political space. You know, it's not for these gentle-looking people and so on. It's not for, honest people. You've got to be rough. You've got to have a hard heart. You've got to be able to elbow people out and things like that. And I was convinced right from the start that that was not politics. That was not how politics should be. This is Nigerian politics. We're not the only politicians in the world. When you see politicians elsewhere, there's a video of the Prime Minister of Singapore that seems to be trending now, where he's talking about keep our politics clean, keep our politics honest. We Nigerians don't believe that there is room for honesty. There was a lot about character in the last elections, morality, ethics. We don't even expect it, and therefore there's this complicity between the politicians and the electorate, on how Nigerian politics would be. So they're willing to give, to buy votes. The electorate is willing to sell, And so we have descended into this shameful, I would say, level of the public conduct, of the conduct of our public institutions. It's just so low. It's so low. And for me, everything is connected. I was given a crash course in economics by the late Mr. Bode Augusto. He died just a few weeks ago, a fine gentleman. It was Mr. Fola Adeola. We were together in Kowa Party, who organized that, was about a 3-4 hour crash program in preparation for the debate, the presidential debate, when I was running. And Mr. Augusto said to me, maybe at that time, the Naira to the dollar exchange was about 100 and something. He said, we're going to be way over 500. And I could not believe it, 500 Naira to $1. I said, how can, and things like that. I often wondered, how do countries descend into that kind of situation you had in Zimbabwe, where you needed, I don't know how many thousands,
a wheelbarrow,
exactly, to carry
around
your money, to buy a loaf of bread or whatever. And I thought, that was too far-fetched. Well, where are we today? And all these things are connected. It's about politicians. And it's because we have divorced ethics from politics. Good governance, I am convinced, can only come from good people. If you are not good, if you are selfish, you are a thieving person, you do not care for people, all you care about is your pocket, and so on. How can such a person, for goodness sake, give us good governance?
I do not know what school of thought you might fall under, because you have been with the group Fix Politics. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what parts of politics right now you would want to fix, looking at how our elections have gone down this year.
I believe that we should not just say, okay, it's done and dusted, we just move on. There are very serious lessons to learn. There are serious decisions, I believe, to be taken. If something is happening in your society that is so troubling, I just came from an event organized by Kimpact Development Initiative. I'm on their board. So this is a civil society organization. And for the past 4 months, they had deployed observers to Kogi, Bayelsa, and Imo to monitor pre-election violence in those states. And then the team from the office now went to Kogi to do on-site monitor on Saturday. And they had a press conference this morning to present their first report to the Nigerian public. So I was there. I was invited as a board member of Kimpact. 4 people died during these elections. They said on that Saturday there were 50 cases of violence that they monitored. That's apart from the pre-election violence and so on and so forth. You must have heard about the case of Ogori Magongo, where well before the elections, started, the result sheet had been filled out and so on and so forth. When such things happen in a society, and don't you forget that the kind of money that gets allocated to INEC for elections, it just makes me grin with envy when I think of the education sector. That's my sector. What we could do with that money if such funds were allocated to the education sector. Okay, so we are spending huge sums of money just to go and thumbprint a piece of paper. Now we have 16-point-something million children roaming the streets out of school. That does not seem to bother us too much. I mean, what's happening to our leaders? Where is our priority as a nation? Somebody at that event was talking about, the fact that he did not see all the representatives, the party agents of the political parties in the polling units that he monitored. And he was like, why shouldn't there be, what that would mean for transparency and so on. And my reaction was, what do we need polling agents for, party agents for in the first place? What do we need them for? If we were a people who conducted our affairs with orderliness. Somebody there said he just came back from Liberia, where they had elections. Nobody shuts down the entire country on election day like we do here. So you can just say, I'll stop by, the polling booth on my way to work, or on my way from work, or during my break. So I'm just saying, don't we need to challenge ourselves and ask some fundamental questions? Are we wasting money or not? Is this the best use of our resources? What do we need to do in order to change this whole system? Except people are saying this is the way we want it. But I don't think so. I don't think that should be the way we want it. And I think that part of the problem is really that political offices, the stakes are too high.
Welcome back to Hard Copy, coming to you from our studios in Abuja. Professor Remi Sonaiya, a former presidential candidate and a member of the Fixed Politics Initiative, is our guest tonight. And we're discussing on how to get to the path of healing and good governance post the just concluded elections. Are you going to be contesting again? Just asking. Are you going to be, because now you seem a lot more with civil society than with
inside the politics.
Yeah.
You know, I tried to contest, by the way, in 2019, you know, but my party had another candidate then, you know, but I did not try to contest in 2023. Who knows what the future holds? I don't know. I was not, you know, even when I contested in 2015, it wasn't something that I had planned way ahead to say, oh, in 2015, you know, I will be contesting and so on. What led to it actually was the fact that I saw the two parties. It was after the two major political parties had decided on their candidates that I decided to contest, because I was looking for who to support. There was a candidate being touted, I don't want to mention any names, in one of the political parties. And I thought, oh, you know, if they came up with this person as their candidate, you know, I thought he was a decent man and so on, maybe that would be somebody that one could support. But when, you know, it came out that they had the candidates that they had, and I was not convinced that I could support either of them.
So based on what it is that you were able to, you know, based on some of the discussions that you had back then and where we currently are, because for a number of people and conversations that I have been privileged to, you know, have post the elections, they think it's high time we gave our country another long, hard look and, you know, bring back this issue of restructuring to the table. CSOs are hosting conversations in that area, and you also have, I think, elder statesmen who are also making those calls around revisiting the issue of restructuring. How do you think it's going to help us in the current situation that we found ourselves?
I believe that this is a needed, an urgently needed engagement that we should have. And, you know, there are documents sitting in government offices that can be the launch pad for that kind of engagement. We have, just to mention the last one, the report of the 2014 National Conference, where recommendations were made. Why, again, did we spend all of that money? If we were not ready to do anything with the report that would come out of that whole process, you know, people have made recommendations. Let's just even begin there. There is no doubt that this system is not working. Nigeria is not working for everybody. Those who are happy with Nigeria the way it is are people who are, I believe, feeding fat on this structure that we have. Yes, a lot of people, once you mention restructuring, they go up, what do you need to restructure? You know, what's wrong with our structure, and so on and so forth. We can determine what we mean by restructuring, whether it's political restructuring, restructuring of our security apparatus, like we like to call it, you know. But one thing that the group that you mentioned Fixed Politics, one thing we have advocated, first of all, is that we restructure our constitution. Let's just do one thing with that constitution. That is, give Nigerians the possibility of holding a referendum on issues that touch our lives. So you have this constitution. Somebody has said that former President Obasanjo was sworn in on a constitution that he had not read when he was sworn in 1999. Who had read that constitution? Who knew the details of it and things like that? So there is a lot in there that definitely needs restructuring. Why can we not participate? It's been said over and over again, participative government is what is the way to go, is an integral part of democracy. What is this democracy that we want to practice that, the people really are not front and center in the way it's run?
It's a very big question. I mean, in terms of, because some people also say, is it a risk that we can afford to take when at the end of the day, there is so much distrust and people are wondering whether or not questions of unity will be asked. Some people think that question of unity must never be posed. I mean, and that our unity is non-negotiable. I
think it's a very, very foolish, I'm sorry to say that, position to hold. Do you, in our individual lives, who runs their life that way? How have we fared all these years that people have been ramming it down our throats? The unity of Nigeria is non-negotiable. Who says that restructuring means that we want to break up? I believe that restructuring is to give us the best quality of life that we can have as Nigerians. To say, look, let's consider ourselves. I believe that each region, each area has its own strengths. But this national unitary system that we are running has made us all, maybe just to say lazy, to just put it mildly, because we can all just run to the center and collect our allocations, Meanwhile, our strengths, our real strengths, are lying dormant. Because our politicians, those who are leaders of our various areas, communities, regions, whatever, states, they have easy money. So why work? Is that how countries develop? How come we are constantly going around begging?
Well, there are clearly gaps. There are clearly divisions as a result of the elections, the just concluded elections. Mm-hmm. Where would you advocate that we start healing from? Where would you say that we start the cohesion process from once more?
I would have expected this kind of conversation to be held at the highest level of governance in our country. When the Federal Executive Council meets, do they ask these kinds of questions that you are asking me today? Or are they just pleased to celebrate their victories and to do allocations of, contracts and so on? Who is going to drive this kind of conversation? I would have loved it to be the people at the highest level of authority of governance in the country, because it would say to the public that the leaders think that this is a serious matter.
Professor Remi Sonaiya, thank you so much for coming on Hard Copy.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Well, that's our program tonight. For your feedback and comments, please use the handles showing on your screen. Thank you for watching. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf. Good night.